Hope you, is everyone back now, I think? Yeah, should be back, everybody.
See everybody zooming around the whiteboard.
Yeah, so I just wanted to spend 5 minutes kind of debriefing those two questions. Be great to hear a little bit from each room, but also please feel free to add your thoughts onto the whiteboard. So you can just grab a sticky note from the far left, pop it up here, and then you should be able to write in your sticky note. So please feel free, if there's anything particular that came up from your group, you can pop them on the whiteboard. But then it'd be great to just have a minute's feedback from each group about anything particular that came up for you around those two questions. So group one, I think that was my group.
That was yours.
Yes.
Hey, yeah, is that everyone back?
I think so, yeah.
Hi, I'm Frida. We spoke about I guess our feeling of responsibility as adults, wanting to be alongside young people in these discussions and not shying away from them, but also making sure that they're age appropriate and creating spaces that they feel safe enough that they can share with us. And we also spoke about the fact that it's quite tricky not to bring your own values into these discussions, obviously, and because you often start them because you share their values or it's something that you feel is important to discuss. So yeah, I guess that's why it's important, but also the challenges are integral with that as well. So the challenges are part and parcel of why it's important to have, and not wanting to overwhelm or making sure that they feel that there's a positivity to it, that there's an outcome, there's something we can do, is really important. So yeah, there we go. Room one. Anything I missed, room one?
No, thank you. That was very well summarised from our discussion. So thank you very much. Is there someone from group two who would like to, anything else they want to add? Or key things for them?
So it's Kirsten here. I don't know, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Great, okay. So yes, I'm just going to feedback on behalf of group two, but if there's anything I've missed, please do chip in group two. We've put some of the comments on the screen there in terms of for a lot of young people, it was felt that these aren't necessarily controversial issues, they're more like lived experience for a lot of young people. These are part of their identity, their lived reality. And for them, the controversial aspect is why are they considered controversial? The point was made also that some of these so-called controversial issues are actually fact, for example, climate change. So, giving young people this idea of a safe space to be able to contextualize themselves in society, being able to understand different perspectives and exploring opportunity to share and help each other. But this idea of enabling being really important, that it was about encouraging people to share their thoughts in a sensitive and considered way. And we got into the discussion around how we do this, what are some of the fears and concerns and challenges, and this idea of being able to manage a respectful conversation where differing views might pop up. So how do we facilitate that idea of a healthy conversation in a space where people can share? Particularly if it's experiences that we haven't had ourselves. We were talking about the fact that a lot of these controversial issues are things that we might, as practitioners, not have dealt with in our own lived experience. So, how do we create that safe space before tensions become obvious? Some strategies were mentioned, like group agreements, opening the discussion in a safe way, but also acknowledging that we're learning too. So it was a really great discussion. I felt we were just getting going. So group two, is there anything else that folk want to chip in that I've missed?
Oh, thank you, Kirsten. That sounds like a really interesting conversation. I think that's a really important point about the lived experience of the young people in the group, and particularly that you as the practitioner, group facilitator, might not have that lived experience. So the importance of kind of active listening within all this is really, really important as well. Finally, group three.
That was my group, I think. We talked a lot about, well, in terms of the first question, like the fact that we have these conversations allows young people to actually develop their own views, hear from other people, hear different perspectives, and start to develop their views rather than just going along with those of the community that are immediately around them. The other side of that as well was with the changing world, that quite often their views might contradict those of their families, and actually having that safe space to come and talk and build that view with less risk is important. Some of the challenges, as we talked about, were those of it becoming personal, and that not everyone's necessarily got the skill to play devil's advocate all the time. And also that balance of who should be having these discussions with young people and who maybe shouldn't. So is it a volunteer's place to have a one-on-one discussion, challenging discussion with a young person, or does that put them at risk? So quite often a lot of fears are that's almost personal risk kind of fear. Where are the boundaries? What kind of protections can you put in for yourself before having these discussions? And one person shared an example of where that went a bit wrong, and why they don't recommend at all that their volunteers talk about these issues or any kind of political issues at all, because that training isn't there and that the support isn't necessarily there, and that's when things can go south. And it's you hear, I think people hear those stories more often and then find themselves in a position and make it more hesitant, or make more hesitant to have the conversation later on. That was a very quick summary. If anybody wants to add anything into the whiteboard or discussion, please do.
Oh, thanks, Sarah. That was a really important point about, safeguarding and thinking about ourselves within these conversations. And I think quite a lot of sometimes the concerns about hosting them come from that. So thank you. Okay, so I see people have added things to the whiteboard as well, which is great. I'm just going to close that just now. And I think I'm going to hand over to Sarah now, who is going to talk through some of the strategies that we can use for hosting these conversations.